The king is dead.
Well, yeah, I guess the first thing I'd like to ask is, who is your character exactly, and how does he fit into this kind of complex tapestry of power struggles?
He's a knight from a low-born family in Blackhaven. He's the son of a steward, and he finds himself competing in this tournament to celebrate the future king of the Seven Kingdoms, and faces off against Daemon Targaryen in a joust.
And do we see that relationship between him and Matt Smith's character develop as the series goes on?
Yeah, although Matt said that he thinks they kind of fancy each other, which I kind of back that as a thing. I hadn't initially thought about it, but now I think that's what I'm going to sell.
Well, I guess if each is each other's biggest rival, there is something.
Yeah, there's like a kind of, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
they kind of like they admire each other, I guess.
What are your character's motivations? Like you said, he comes from like a lower birth position than the family. Is power they kind of aim for him?
You know, I don't think it is. I think he's someone who's very much looking at what the next thing is, and the next thing for him at this moment is this tournament, and winning this tournament, that's the greatest honour that he could possibly achieve. I don't see him as like a Machiavellian with great ambitions to the Targaryen throne or anything like that. I don't think that's even in his vicinity. He's a soldier, and this tournament is a bit of sport for him.
It's a seizure! It is treason, at the least!
What specific training did it involve for you? Did you have to learn like horse riding, sword fighting?
Yeah, I had to learn to ride a horse. I learned to ride on a horse called Dume. It's really fat, incredibly fat horse, very slow. Good for me because I'm not the best rider. And yeah, lots of fight training and sword fighting and all that stuff.
Did you take to it naturally?
I want to say that I did, but I don't know that I did. That's not up for me. That's really not up for me. That's up for the stunt team to decide if they think I took it naturally. I really liked it. You know, it beats sort of standing around in your trailer watching Succession for the 19th time. Yeah.
What would you say the core themes of the show are?
It's a show about family, about power, about ambition, and isolation.
And what do you think people will be most surprised by when they watch it?
I think as opposed to Game of Thrones, wherein, you know, Game of Thrones started with all these worlds and everyone was in different places, and you sort of met all the central characters at very, very different stages in their lives in different parts of the world. All our characters essentially start in one place. So that makes for a very interesting dynamic to start a show from.
That the people remember the ancient strength of House Targaryen.
But obviously it's epic, like you look at it, it's amazing, but the story's more intimate in a way than maybe people might expect.
Yeah, and it also, someone was saying this recently, like, you know, as a result of that, you have there's less getaway, so you're more stuck in, so that if those relationships, you don't buy them as an audience member, you're not left with very much else. There's not the beauty of all these other worlds, yet at least. You know, it relies very heavily on sort of the relationships between the central characters.
Do you think like the audience's sympathies, who they're rooting for, is going to change a lot as the series progresses?
Yeah, I feel like any sort of show, especially when you have such controversial characters at the heart of it. I started to keep bringing up Succession, but it's the same thing. Like I think about Succession, I think which characters I cared about and how that changes all the time. And I think that our show will be no different from that. And Game of Thrones did that so well. You know, 1 second you love them and the next you hated them, and that could change in an instant based off one action.
For you, what was the hardest scene of all to shoot?
Any scene with Rhys Ifans, where I had to try and keep a straight face.
Really, why?
Oh man, I was talking about it earlier, but he's like the master of trying to make actors giggle during scenes. So I would just like I had to not look at him. I would look at points of his face that would mean that I couldn't see it. So I'd be looking at like the corner of his left ear for most of my scenes with him so that I wouldn't have to make direct eye contact with him.
What does he do to try and make you laugh? Like, what?
I can't even explain it to you. Like, it's just the look in his eye. There's like this wild look in his eye. It looks like, I can't really explain it. I don't know how to explain it. If he was here, I wish I could like get a camera and just like, put it right in his eye, and you could just see there's just like pure chaos in his face.
So it's not like he can even be told off for doing anything wrong because he's not doing anything.
No, look. Sometimes you could definitely tell him off. Like if he's throwing blueberries at you in the middle of a take, that's a whole different thing. But a lot of the time, it was just like a little glint in his eye. I'm even just thinking about it now. It makes me like, anyway.
This is so funny for me as a viewer to hear, because having watched the first episode, his character's so intense and
He's
composed.
so good at. That's what's so frustrating is he's like so good at acting, and so like I don't understand how you can be simultaneously so chaotic and yet so good at acting at the same time. He's like a master at it.
I guess this is a slightly cheesy question, but when people watch the show, what do you kind of hope they take away from it?
I think the main thing for us is like that, you know, I hope that they'll care about the characters in the way that I cared about them when I read the scripts. And kind of cheesy answer, I guess. Yeah, I really hope that they really care about the people. That's all that really matters. Because at the end of the day, as amazing as the dragons are, and as amazing as the sets are, and as amazing as the costumes are, if you don't really care about the people, it's very hard to feel any investment in the show.